Hello everyone, Chop here. Before this episode starts, I wanted to warn you that it contains massive spoilers for the book series Remembrance of Earth's Past by Liu Cixin. So if you have any intention of reading or watching this series, then I would highly advise either skipping this episode entirely or skipping a portion of it. For video listeners, I'll put a timestamp in the description. For audio listeners, you're just going to have to trust me. It's from about the 38-minute to about the 45-minute mark that you want to avoid. Thank you for your time. I highly recommend you check the series out. It's worth the read. But for now, on with the show. Whispers, phantasms, and eldritch aberrations. Good now, and welcome back to Baconspiracies. I'm your host, Chop, and I hope this piece of media finds you well. We have new episodes every Saturday, and you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Amazon Music, and hopefully more platforms in the future. As always, I have two guests with me. Today, I have Solyolvimir.
Hello. You can also just call me Gavin or Sol, whatever works best.
And we also have Squirrely Brent.
Hello, hello.
Or just Brent.
Yeah, Brent's fine.
Should I be like Soly Gavin or something?
Should I be Porky Chop?
Yeah. We'll just change everything.
The Gavalanche.
That's a new one. I haven't
Gavalanche.
heard that one before. That's pretty
awesome.
good, actually. Avalanche. I'm gonna keep that.
All right.
I'm not trying to inflate his ego or anything, but I'm especially happy to have Brent on because this motherfucker is the musical mastermind behind everything Baconspiracies. The intro, the backing track, all him. All wonderful.
Happy to help.
I've listened to so much of Brent's music.
So much.
You're hyping me up too much.
No, dude, your music's so good, though.
So, what I wanted to get into today is, something that I admittedly have surface level knowledge on, but I'm ready and willing to dive much deeper, is Eldritch bullshit. Trademark. Be that the works of Lovecraft, Eldritch, otherworldly, indescribable abominations, ultra-terrestrial entities, that sort of thing. Like I said, as someone with surface level knowledge, at best, of the works of Lovecraft and the unbelievable aberrations contained therein, I'm ready. I'm going to take my brain out of my skull, place it on the table, and give Sol/Gavin explicit permission to just smash the fuck out of it with the Necronomicon and the many other heavy tomes written by the man who liked to express his racism through the name of his cat.
Well, I mean, yeah, you got that. It is extremely unfortunate that the father of, essentially the all-father of Eldritch horror was just a terrible person. But I think it also says something to the ability he had to weave these tales and to create something truly terrifying. Because the only thing I can assume that would make someone racist is just because they're a huge, just flaming coward. That's the only thing I can assume. I figure he was a very scared, very drunk, lonely man, hence why he had a cat named that. It's just terrible.
Yeah, if you really must know, you can look up the name of his cat, but I would recommend scrubbing it from your search history immediately after.
Assume. You can assume. It was the 1920s. He was American. You can assume.
I believe that was a common pet name back then, unfortunately.
Are you serious?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, why?
Who are you that do not know your history?
Fuck off. There is some of it's repressed, okay?
We're from Alabama, come on.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, tell that to the entire episode I did on Alabama folklore and urban legends and the sort.
Luckily, he would be rolling in his grave over the fact that basically Eldritch Horror was taken by the queer community completely.
I don't know how that happened.
Because it's good. I mean, like, it's spooky stuff, and, like, you know, when you're in the closet, everything's dark, so your mind just goes wild.
Insert joke in poor taste about tentacles.
Oh
No,
my.
that's Japanese stuff. I don't really know a whole lot about that.
I don't know, man. Cthulhu might be really good at eating somebody out. I'm sorry.
That just
let
makes
me
you think of
finish.
Davy Jones.
Ugh.
He was so spitty in those movies. Well, yeah, you know what? I guess a good way to start with Eldritch Horror would just be the absolute insane connection to the ocean.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can definitely see that because we have explored more of the open, like more of outer space than we have of the, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but I think it's only like 5% of the Earth's oceans that we've explored.
Yes, it's such a mystery.
Unexplored. I'm actually going to look that up. I want to see the actual statistic there.
I want to say it's 5%, but don't quote me on that.
Actually, it's a little bit more than you'd assume. More than 80% of the ocean has never been mapped. So it's about 20% that we've actually properly mapped. A far greater percentage of the surfaces of the moon and the planet of Mars has been mapped and studied than of our own ocean floor.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, just we know more about space in general and extraterrestrial bodies than we do about our own fucking oceans, dude. It's nuts.
And it likes to eat rich people.
God damn it.
Too soon.
We didn't even make it 10 fucking minutes before we started talking shit about Ocean Gate again. Come on, guys.
It's inevitable when the deep gets brought up, man.
Shut the fuck up. I'm listening to Abandoned Ship from the Subnautica soundtrack.
I mean, yeah. That man goes hard, not gonna lie. The music for Subnautica goes really hard.
This is true.
Well, Brent, what do you know about the ocean?
Not very much.
It's wet.
It's a scary place.
Very spooky.
It's wet. It almost killed me when I was in high school, but you know, that's another story.
Oh, yikes.
Wait, the ocean almost killed you?
Yeah, I almost drowned at a beach trip.
Yikes.
Oh, God. To be fair, pools have tried to take my life more than a couple of times. So whenever I see the backroom stuff, I get kind of antsy.
Those damn pool sharks.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's the vast uncertainty that surrounds our ocean really does pave the way for a lot of fucked up shit. Indescribable fucked up shit.
It's got a whole city down there that Cthulhu runs called Rillier. And what's interesting to me is that the way that the ocean was used was more of like the same way that we assume dark matter as a force operates. That it was less just an entity, like a body of water, and more of a portal to something else. And then a lot of other lore ends up saying that they, like Cthulhu and the race of like the Elder Ones and everything, were cosmic explorers as well. And one of the places that they came to sleep was the ocean. So Cthulhu came down, Dagoth, a couple of others, you know, some creatures and stuff. And then, of course, once you've got those things happening, you'd assume a portal gets opened in some way or another. There's a lot of portals and a lot of gates and a lot of keys involved with Eldritch Horror, which I think is interesting because a lot of those keys end up becoming extremely esoteric. And it reminds me as well of one episode of the Midnight Gospel, the Fishbowl episode. Specifically, ironically enough, it's about the ocean, but the guy that he talks to studies esoteric magic, like ritual magic, like actual stuff, not like pagan, like Wiccanism or anything like that, but like actual studyable market magic in ways that God, I forgot the name of the Order of the Golden Dawn. I think the Praxic Order of the Golden Dawn or something like that. It sounds like something that's just out of Destiny. It sounds like a bunch of warlocks got together, admittedly.
Talking about the real one, right? That existed in history?
Yeah.
That would be the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn.
Hermetic, that's what it was. And Hermetic to me always sounds really weird because I just think of like a door being sealed.
Yeah, Hermetic.
Like vault doors. But yeah, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, with knowledge and things that go back and date back to like the founding, like before the founding of like Christianity. And not even to get into a huge deep dive to that, but that was probably a mushroom-based cult where a whole bunch of people were tripping and stuff. That's a whole other can of worms. But there's a lot of ritualistic things that are brought into it, and I feel like Lovecraft's Eldritch horror leaned more into, I guess, people with his mindset and being scared of the unknown, and the way they didn't see the other side of the world as the same as them because they had never really been there. Unimaginable things can happen. You don't know those people or anything like that. So in their mind, you know, something that is truly unknown and just from the deep, somewhere you can never go, is just the biggest, scariest thing. I personally have never found Eldritch horror that scary.
I get where you're coming from. It's more, it can be seen as more of a manifestation of the fear of the unknown.
Yeah,
because that goes hand in hand with how little we know about Earth's oceans, and you know, even as little as we know about space as a whole, even though we've explored more of it than our oceans. But continue.
They bring like real life regular cult things into it, and things that we can genuinely understand, and maybe I think it just is a disconnect in the ways the idea of something being like so immense that it's not understandable kind of comes off to me, and I guess a lot of other people. I've read this online, but it just kind of rolls off my brain like it's smooth and it's like mirror polished, because in my head I'm like, well, the scariest unknown is death, and when you're dead, no, you're dead. You don't care. So the dying part isn't really scary, and then the going insane and getting to see worlds untold and all that stuff, that just seems cool. Like, neat. There is something else going on here. It's terrifying, and there's no afterlife, but that wouldn't really scare me. I would just be like, all right, insignificant speck. Dope. That means they don't really care what I'm doing. I feel like it would offer some freedom, admittedly.
Yeah, being dead is not scary. It's getting dead that scares me.
Yeah,
it's the hurt, it's the pain that I think a lot of people are scared of.
Yeah, definitely the pain, because like even as a Christian, I'm stalwart in my faith and stuff, but like I've boiled it down to either I'm right or it's no longer going to be my problem.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at that point. You're dead.
I agree with Brent. Getting there is gonna fucking blow, but after it'll be alright. It'll be chill.
Yeah,
it's fine. The thing that really scares me, I think is admittedly it's an offshoot of Eldritch horror, is that like body horror. Just a very quick, easy thing. Halo, the Flood. That was a lot of people's first introduction to body horror. And Halo 3, going up to that Marine, freaking out, talking about it's crawling underneath his skin and all that stuff, and he saw his people turn into holy crap, that is scary.
And what happened to Captain Keyes too in the first game?
Oh my god.
That was rough.
It's even more frightening in the novelization of the first Halo game, because they really go into depth with his thought process as this is going on.
I read that.
It's frightening.
And watching the terminal that you get from the Master Chief Collection really goes into like the fucking mental torture that he was undergoing while getting overtaken by the Flood.
Yeah, because he was under the impression that he was it was some weird psychic thing that the Covenant was doing.
Yeah.
And then just very slowly realized like he was like in a comatose state, but still conscious. And like, I think that also really scares me, is just being unable to move your body, but being aware of it at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's terrifying to me as well.
Like losing control, so you just become a passenger in what used to be yours.
Yeah, and with Eldritch Horror, you don't get that. It's more so like your psyche is being branded, and you now have this. It's the same as becoming cognizant at the age of 5. Like, so a flashbang just gets dropped, and you're like, oh my God, I have hands. Oh my God, I'm a me. You know, you realize it out of nowhere, and then you can't go back. And I feel like one of the things with Eldritch Horror is the inability to unlearn that knowledge. But then they also go on to be like, oh, they're so crazy and they really weren't aware of anything by the end, and they're just scrawling things in their own poop on the wall.
No kidding. But like that's another thing that I think really hits home with like Eldritch Horror, is like you have that realization. You have like it's like being reborn almost. Like you have the second coming of your conscience. But this time it's not something that other people have experienced. When you get older and like you get to where your brain can like form stable memories for the first time, and then just like, you know, continue from there, like when memories started forming and when you just like, you know, became fully sentient or sapient, I guess. It's like it's that all over again, but now nobody else has experienced it before. So you're like, well, fucking either, you know, I try to get this out there and people are going to think I'm crazy and I'm going to go take a grippy sock vacation, or back to business as usual. Just keep that secret tucked away in your fucking soul until a hole gets burnt through it.
And then you shoot yourself, which is how most of those stories end. Very genuinely, the survivors, that's exactly how it goes. They kill themselves in the asylum, they stay in the asylum until they die of old age, or they keep the secret, they don't tell anybody, and they end up shooting themselves anyway. I feel like it's boring. And then you get into the, like, Call of Cthulhu, like the game. I think that took what Lovecraft brought and turned into something that could really genuinely be like understood. And part of the horror, I do believe, is the understanding of the scenario that you're in. It's not of the unknown, but really the known unknowns. And having that second coming is essentially knowing all of the unknowns and then not being able to put any of that to words. I feel like that'd be frustrating at the very least. Hence the asylums and the creepy socks.
Yeah, no, I mean, like we have, you know, some semblance of proof in religious texts that it's frustrating, because you can look at this from a biblical perspective. All of the, you know, people trying to describe what it was like seeing an angel face to face, like all the wild descriptions, like a wheel made of fire covered in eyes, or something that had 6 wings and 4 heads, each one facing a cardinal direction, so on and so forth.
Which are very similar to extremely high dose hallucinogens.
Oh.
Which is interesting. That's why I was saying, calling back to the whole mushroom cult thing.
There's a whole theory behind that, but like what I'm getting at is these are creatures that are at the, like, beyond the edge of human imagination. It's like trying to describe a 4th dimensional being with 3-dimensional descriptors. You're trying so hard to find the words to fit what you're looking at, but the words just aren't there. And it's not even like you can't find them, like you're at a loss for words. It's those words physically do not exist, and if they do, they cannot be spoken by human tongue.
Oh, okay, so I get it. In the 1920s, they really just needed YouTube to help them out. I've seen a lot of really cool renditions of them doing like 4D like things in 3D, and this dude who's making a 4D version of Minecraft.
What? Wow.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. He's like the way it works is oh god, I mean it is hard to explain. I'm not gonna lie to you, but you know, like, oh god, I don't even know where to start. Shit. Okay, I see the problems here.
Exactly.
It's like, imagine a 360 camera, like a 360 degree camera.
Yes.
But you're only able to see a portion of it at a time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just images that you're dealing with. It's, you know, your actual, like, your world that you're around. And the way he has it, like, set up, and it's so cool. There is a 4D a world essentially that he's created through, you know, some mishmash majory, but you have the ability to slowly rotate your perspective in 3D, and everything changes and morphs and stuff. So you could be standing in one spot, and he's done multiplayer for it too. Your buddy could have made an entire base around you, but only slightly skewed by a couple degrees. So to you, that's not there at all. You are in your own essential space. But as soon as you skew it ever so slightly, everything kind of morphs and changes in the way you've seen those, like, little animations and stuff, how it looks like it's a 3D object that's slowly changing into 2D and coming across like a flat horizon. Same thing happens with the game.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
You can mine everything, and there's resources to get and stuff. And he was trying to work on mobs, because the way a 4D entity would work is that with your 3D, you get to see a little slice. It can come at you from any angle. It's got 4 dimensions to work with.
Well, as I understand it, the 4th dimension would be, or how we experience it would be time. We have the 3 spatial dimensions, and then the 1 temporal dimension, which is time.
Which is interesting. I've read that a lot, and then I couldn't even get into it right now because I didn't prepare for it in the slightest. But I also saw that there was another argument. A large side of the argument is that, well, time isn't really a thing. You know, it's our perception. It's just how our brains work out what's going on around us at the time.
Sort of like how color is not really a thing. It's just something that we perceive.
Yeah, because it happens to be made of different atoms, which is really neat. The brain is crazy.
Oh yeah.
But it's that time isn't a dimension. It's I need to look this up. Something else of the dimension.
It's an experience more than it is. God, yeah, no, we're running into the problem that we literally outlined like 5 minutes ago.
It's hard to explain. We don't have words for it.
Yeah.
We don't have enough 3-dimensional words to cover a 4th dimension.
It's like trying to describe a color you've never seen before. Or trying to imagine a color you've never seen before. You just can't do it.
Or like trying to describe like an already existing color to like a blind person.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like, how do you come up with descriptors for something that you just like fundamentally understand just is?
Mm-hmm.
How do you describe like the color red to somebody who doesn't know what colors are, like without saying the word red?
Right. It's like the Mary's Room thought experiment, if you've ever heard of that.
The what?
Oh, I haven't.
You haven't?
No.
Oh, no, wait. Oh, no, the shadow thing, right?
Shadow? No.
Oh,
no,
mind.
It goes something like this. I'll try to explain it. There's this scientist named Mary. She knows everything there is to know about color, but she has spent her whole life in a room that is devoid of color. There's, no color at all. And one day she sees color for the first time. And the question is, does she learn anything?
Whoa. That's an interesting... That's an interesting... I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
I would say yeah, because experience is its own new thing.
It really is.
Experiencing something versus just knowing about... Like, knowing and knowing are two different things.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and I just found a little. Of course, I went to Reddit because that was the first thing that popped up. But I found a little Reddit thread talking about the fourth dimension from a math
You've
perspective.
been fooled, sir. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
Do you want to hear about the math perspective?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. No, is this going to be something along the lines of like trying to explain? I had this conversation with my dad when I was like 12 years old. It's like, how would you tell an alien that 1 + 1 = 2 when like they don't even know what any of that means?
It's also argued that math is a universal constant. That if a civilization were to even try to have any sort of technological advancement, math is the only logical thing that will actually get them there.
Yeah, that's why it's printed on like the obelisks and like discs and shit that we send out into space with all like with Voyager or Pioneer. It's like whatever, all the stuff that we loaded
the
onto
golden
it.
record.
Yeah. The record with the shit written on it to like, it's like if there's something out there, we will try to, write this like in math because hopefully that is the universal constant. That's a language that they'll understand.
Fingers crossed. And it would be absolutely wild if it wasn't, because again, it comes from a perspective of stuff that we have no capability of knowing because our brains are just formed this way. They just see numbers and patterns everywhere. What if an alien doesn't see patterns anywhere?
DNA, can I get pattern-seeking brain? Oh, yes, to protect yourself from predators? Yes. Meanwhile, actually contemplates existence like a boss.
Yeah, let me actually. I've got bigger problems than real death. I've got existential death. So give me a second. Anyway, fucking dimensions.
Yeah.
This way we can get off of that. A string, he says, from far away. This is 1 meter wonder from 5 years ago. A string from far away looks one-dimensional. Why? And if I ask you to choose a place to color the string with a marker, you only have to specify how far left or right you have to go. If left and right makes this seem 2D, think of left as negative right. So a piece of paper appears two-dimensional. If I ask you to take a pen and draw a dot on the paper, you need to choose not only how far left or right, but also how far up or down. Notice it's the same thing with the Earth. We often treat the Earth as 2D with latitude and longitude. That's two numbers to specify a single point on the globe. It's pretty true. A room in an apartment is three-dimensional. And if I want to place a lamp somewhere, I need to know how far left or right, how far up and down, and how far in and out it needs to be placed. That's three directions that need to be specified. A fourth-dimensional spatial object is unfortunately a bit beyond human visual capability. However, we have some great ways of studying them. When you look at a person, when you look at someone's shadow on the ground, you can figure out some partial information about the person making the shadow. Are they turned away from the light source, or are they facing it? Etc., etc. Are they standing, sitting, laying down horizontally, or their arms spread out, etc.? You could then use all of that info to build a pretty good idea of what the person looks like. Studying higher dimensional objects is a lot like asking these kinds of questions about shadows. Study some simpler kind of close shadows and you can piece together the whole thing. For our non-spatial example, imagine I asked you to choose a point inside of the oven and tell me exactly how hot it was. You would need to know the left, right, up, down, in, out, and the temperature. That's four numbers needed and an example of what physicists and mathematicians often mean when they talk about higher dimensions. So there you go. A slightly more understandable version of it.
Do you have to guess how hot the oven is, or do you have to like fucking stick your finger in there and burn the shit out of yourself for science?
No, being a fourth dimensional being would be able to have the innate ability to immediately know that information because that's, we're 3D. We know exactly where we are in 3D space. If you were 4D, then I guess in that example, you would also know the exact temperature of everything everywhere.
Honestly, I feel like the most logical step forward to uncovering the fourth dimension is honestly in the direction I think Brent laid out, which is the temporal dimension. Because as of right now, humans can only experience time in one direction. Time is one-dimensional for them. Why did I say them? Like I'm not human.
Not you're pork chop. That's different.
but anyways, we only experience time one way. I mean, we can technically like look back on it, and it's like you can technically go backwards with like memories and shit, but like we only live it one direction. I think when you're able to add the up and down, like adding a second dimension to how you experience time, is how you would go about adding a fourth dimension to your reality. Because it's like, I know Futurama is like really lighthearted most of the time, but like people with, like actual like science degrees.
What do you mean most of the time?
Well, because, it's funny and whimsical, and then you have an episode like...
I would give a very big half of the time it is funny and whimsical, and the other half, it's just a mask. And if you are any amount of old, then you are like, oh, this is just satire for the world I currently live in. This is pretty bad.
Well, no, but then I was just gonna say, like, you have some episodes that like kick you in the fucking gut, like the episode with Fry and Seymour the dog. But that's a whole other conversation.
Dude, I watched that as I think a 6-year-old.
That made me cry.
Yeah, I never forgot that. And then it was made in Dolomite.
But there was one episode that I distinctly remember. It is that they were hunting, like they were whaling, pretty much. It was like whaling in space.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, the whale would like swim through space-time as if it were water, and when it would breach, it would leave behind these wormholes, pretty much, that would take you through like a different path through space-time. And so like they hooked onto it like Moby Dick and just got yoinked under, so to speak. And then
the title was Mobius Dick.
Mobius Dick, yeah, that was the name of the episode.
Like a Mobius.
Yeah.
I've never seen this episode. It sounds
Dude,
great.
it's such a good episode.
It is. It's from the Comedy Central era.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, that would make sense.
But the one thing that I distinctly remember, and what kind of like sat with me as my like layman's terms understanding for the fourth dimension, is whenever they were getting towed through this wormhole by the whale, and they were just all floating around and shit. And then, Hermes, the accountant, would said something like, "I can see sideways in time." And then he said it again immediately after, but backwards.
And then Fry said poop.
And then Fry said poop, and it's the same backwards.
Oh God, man! All right, yeah, nice.
See, that's what I mean. It gets deep and intrinsic and thoughtful, and then it hits you with a poop joke.
Poop.
Yeah, there's so many PhDs and master's degrees among the Futurama writers too, so that makes it even better.
Yeah, no, I mean that just goes to show we don't grow up; we just get older.
Yeah.
We're all just kids acting like how we think adults are supposed to act.
Yeah. I think, life is basically just role play, which I think as well is an interesting idea, talking about fourth dimensional beings. I think it'd be really funny if, we were descended from fourth dimensional beings. Yeah, they're just like, fourth dimensions sucks. It's too much. I want to like take it easy for a little bit. Shit. And then they did. They were like, cool. Now I don't have to worry about all of time at the same time. God, that was awful. I don't even know what that means anymore.
Maybe we'll regress into like 2 dimensions one day. We'll just be in a video game.
Well, that's actually one of the... have you guys ever heard of the 3-body problem?
Yes.
Because I think they just adapted it to like TV or something like that recently.
Enlighten me.
The 3-body problem is an amazing, absolutely incredible book series. Also endorsed by Barack Obama, so if that says anything. But the 3-body problem is a sci-fi telling of humans hanging out, just hanging around, doing what they do and thinking that they're the only things in the universe. And then suddenly they get communication from an interstellar species that says, we are currently en route to your planet. There is nothing you can do about it. We are going to take it over. We know all of these things about you, etc., etc. Good luck. And then everyone's like, oh God, aliens exist. Oh God, they're gonna come kill us. And this is a very gross oversimplification of the story. But it comes down to that the universe, it isn't all sunshine and rainbows for existence. If you exist, to exist is to hide. The universe is a dark forest.
No kidding.
And everyone is a hunter. And you don't know if the next hunter you come across is going to hunt you and kill you, or if they're going to be friendly. And 9 times out of 10, they're not friendly because they're scared.
Yeah, there's a whole fucking theory about that. It's like, what the fuck is the Fermi paradox? Like either we're alone or we're
yeah,
it's
why we haven't found any life anywhere. Yeah. It's because everything's fucking hiding.
Everything's fucking hiding from like some cosmic, unfathomable spatial predator.
Everyone's hiding except us. We're just announcing our presence.
Weaving around, and yeah, we're the stupid new people on the block who don't know shit. And everyone's looking at us like, are you for real now, dog? Like, you live like this?
Everyone's looking at us like the fat dude in a zombie apocalypse. They're just waiting for us to get tired because they know we're gonna die first.
Yeah, exactly. And so this species contacted Earth because they were actually the closest neighbor. The 3-body problem is what this species was dealing with, was the fact that they had 3 stars, 3 bodies, and that was a fucking problem. And the problem is because at that point, you cannot predict what anything gravitationally is going to do at all whatsoever. With 1 star, you can predict orbits very easily. It's going to go around the fucking star. With 2 stars, you can get it's a little bit harder, but you can predict everything and kind of simulate what's going to happen because the stars are going to orbit each other based on their masses and everything. But once you throw a 3rd one into that, it becomes so immensely difficult. It is essentially just pure chaos, because each are going to be pulling on each other in different ways. And then the first one's going to pull on the second one in this way, but because the 3rd one's pulling on the first one, it starts to pull on the second one in a weird way. The second one's pulling on it's like it was bad. It was bad for the species. And so they were doomed to just get annihilated by a random like gamma ray burst. A sun crashing into another sun, like it was a big fucking problem.
Just absolutely thunder cunting some random fucking planet straight their way.
Yeah, this is like our idea of Planescape. That's what's happening in the Planescape all the time. Is there's 3 stars going, or there's 3 stars inside of you, and each one is gay and they're kissing each other. But this alien species turns out were like tiny bugs, itty bitty little bug guys who had such immensely amazing technology that they could travel through interstellar space and have ships that could destroy Earth. Essentially, 1 ship could destroy Earth. They had sent a couple of drones out. All of this stuff was figured out later on by human characters and shit. And specifically, I think it was called the sword wielders, or the wall facers. It was wall facers. A lot of things humanity went through, and one was the wall facer program. And then they figured out, one guy managed to figure out through cryostasis and a lot of time and stuff. He figured out that the universe is a dark forest. He was guessing. And he was guessing that if he could line up these nuclear bombs around the sun in a specific way and detonate them in a specific way, that it would send off gravitational waves so massive and so large that it would indicate like an SOS message via gravitational waves, basically. A massive, hey, I'm here, hello everybody. And if they then did that, 1, if he was right, they were still fucked.
Yeah.
But they could find a way out of it, potentially. And then they would stop the current immediate threat of the bugs coming. or 2, it wouldn't do anything and it wouldn't matter and they would all die anyway. And so through all this time, because the bugs, for some reason, I forgot how it was explained, but they were quantumly linked to Earth. So they were able, through quantum tunneling, to deign everything that was happening on Earth via, particle manipulation or some bullshit like that via one of their drones that went there. So immediately as he's got this trigger, and the trigger is the thing that triggers the bombs, he just says it in an empty room. And so he figured out that they're probably quantumly linked, or they have some sort of surveillance on Earth and humanity. He just said it out in a room. He's like, hey, so this is what I've done over the course of the past 100, 200 years or whatever. When I press this button, it's going to signal everyone around us. So I would like to talk. But 10 seconds later, an emissary from the bug people are talking through him psychically, and they're like, hey, don't do that. And then it devolves into the next book series, and it eventually becomes there's maybe a handful, maybe one higher species that were originally the universe was in 4 dimensions, potentially 5, 6, 7, 8 dimensions, and it has slowly been devolving dimensions and just shedding them like a cycle, hence where the Big Bang came from. That was the 4th dimension ending and us going into the 3rd dimension. And certain species have figured out just the mathematics of the universe so fucking well that they were able to skate along certain like ley lines, essentially, if you want to think about it like that, quantum ley lines into the next dimension, and have potentially been doing that forever because they created something that was the ultimate weapon, and that was a dimension devolvement of a species. Because what better way to get rid of an entire species forever and make sure that they're never a problem than to literally get rid of them in their existence in your universe? And one of the weapons that was being sent towards the Sol system was a very tiny, almost envelope-sized, infinitesimally thin, what looked like basically like a piece of paper. And it was a dimension attack that then crashed into the Sol system and turned everything into the 2nd dimension. And then the book goes on to then describe the horror of being 3D and then suddenly becoming 2D. It doesn't end well. You're not going to have your organs anymore or be alive because it's a different universe. You were 3D. It's an absolutely incredible series, and I like it more because that plays in terms of Eldritch horror, because that's stuff that's beyond our comprehension. That's fucking crazy. How do you turn a specific point in space into a different dimension? How do you even cross dimensions, And I like that more as an idea. I like the sci-fi aspect, and the ability to then understand the situation you're in and how hopeless that is. Some humans survive, by the way. That's how the books keep going on. Some humans actually survive that scenario. But yeah, I'll stop talking about that. Somebody else talking about
that was fascinating.
That was fucking phenomenal, dude.
It's such a good book series. And mind you,
I've only watched
so well. YouTube videos.
You said the 3-body problem is what it's called?
The 3-body problem.
Okay. I was just going to say I have 2 takeaways. Well, technically I have 3. First, you said this book is fucking endorsed by Obama.
Yeah, he read it.
Oh, yeah.
That's...
Whilst in his presidency, he read it. He said this was a phenomenal thought exercise, which I think says something about it. Actually, I think there's a little truth to it that he knows about it.
My fellow Americans, this timeline absolutely sucks. We need to drone strike this dimension. I'm sorry, but my first main takeaway is I love that no matter how advanced humanity gets, even in like works of phantasmagorical fiction, our fallback plan is to always blow it the fuck up.
Yeah.
Especially like with our fucking surround the sun with enough nukes to make a gravitational wave as like an SOS.
Yeah.
That's fucking wildly hilarious to me.
Oh, what happens is I forgot to. I'm sorry for interrupting
No,
you
you're
to
good.
give to anybody listening and who hasn't looked into this or anything like that. Sorry to give you so many fucking spoilers, but there's so much I didn't explain that it really makes up for it. The bugs get destroyed, by the way. They end up meeting a completely separate fleet of another race that wasn't involved with any of it, just one of the ones that happened to see some of the shit going on, and they met and they were just wiped out. Like the bug people who were able to destroy Earth were wiped out in a blink of an eye.
Rip.
Yeah. Fucking crazy. Yeah, it's just rip the 3-body problem. It's not anybody's problem now.
God damn it. But the other thing that I took away from that is the whole like dimensional ley line thing or whatever, like surviving beyond the destruction of an entire dimension is really cool, because there's stories of if you want to look this up, it's a really weird fucking cryptid. I don't know how trustworthy all the sighting sources are, but this one is very strange, and they're simply referred to as black stickmen. And every sighting of them confirms them to be pretty much like two-dimensional. Like no matter what direction you're looking at them from, it always looks like you're looking at them straight on, like it's a facade that just rotates to meet your gaze.
Yeah, like Doom.
Yeah, and every time they get seen, they freak the fuck out and bolt, and they're fast. So it's like, they're like, oh fuck, I'm not supposed to get seen right now. How are they doing this? It's like they're more scared of you than you are of it, because it's almost like, it's like us trying to describe a fourth dimensional being.
Yeah, it's like us walking along a fourth dimensional being, like being like,
Yeah, just that, but one step down. A two-dimensional being looking at like a three-dimensional.
being like,
Yeah, pretty just insert pain sound here.
Well, Brent, you created a lot. You've got your own mythos and everything. Like,
Right.
What sort of terrible otherworldly eldritch bullshit do you have going on?
Oh, I would have to prepare beforehand to get into all that. I don't want to.
I mean, like, I know you've also got, like, to go back, harken back on the time thing. Like, you've got an emphasis on a specific time and stuff, too. That is still an absolute fucking mystery. That's absolute fucking mystery.
Yeah. Well, I've been working a lot on creative writing projects that I hope to share soon. It's all connected.
I see. I like the connected stuff. I like a connected universe. And
Right.
you've made so much stuff. Like, you've made so much stuff. Like, I don't know if you genuinely, like, if you looked back on the things you have made, but your portfolio is that of, like, a person's lifetime.
Yeah. While we're on this topic, Brent, I've plugged your music channel
Right.
in the description of every video that every episode.
Oh,
that we've
yes,
done.
I've noticed.
The musical stylings of Brent Bunn.
Exactly. So, like,
I repeat, the musical stylings of Brent Bunn. You got
guys.
252 subscribers, man. You are very underrated.
And it only took like 11 years.
Yeah, I know, man. Like,
Criminally
only a couple
underrated.
years ago, you were only at like 80 or whatever.
Yeah,
You
it's
shot
like-
up pretty quick, actually.
It's like a snowball.
but yeah, like
we'll
that.
see
Your
where it
music
goes.
needs no introduction, at least from the standpoint of Baconspiracies. But if you would like to take the opportunity to plug any other projects you have going on, any other places where people may find you in the Wild West of the internet, I've extended the same. You don't have to, but I've extended the same privilege to every guest I've ever had, and I would like to do the same for you as well.
Okay. Well, yeah, my YouTube channel, my music channel, that's basically it. And my Newgrounds account, that's mainly where I'm active these days. And my Newgrounds is Burton1991. It was an awful username, and I just never changed it. And I'm stuck with it now.
I like that.
It's just my name with the letters kind of switched around. Instead of Brent, it's Burton.
Do you prefer your alter ego?
What's that?
Do you prefer your alter ego?
I like them both.
Speaking of like Newgrounds and stuff, I mean, like it's fucking crazy that Newgrounds is still a community. Admittedly, like thinking about it, like they've been through so much. You guys have been through so much. I'm not part of the community. I've never fucking used Newgrounds. But I know there's a lot of dedicated people and there's a lot of really cool stuff. And I know you've made video games and stuff before. Is there a video game that you're working on right now, or like?
Actually, yes.
Oh, hell yeah!
Let's go.
Yeah, I have been just out of it for so many years, but I'm finally getting back into it. I'm working on something new, and I've got some help this time. Me and my brother have been working on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Basically, it's like a 2D side-scrolling platformer with a fishing mechanic.
The fishing mechanic leads to Eldritch horror.
Could be.
All right, cool. All right, I like the mystery.
It's like Dredge.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about Dredge.
Yeah.
Well, I have had a lot of fun tonight. I need to get going soon.
Hey, that's perfect. That's perfect timing because I was actually thinking about putting the kaputs on this episode. We're reaching the end of the duration that we usually go here.
Yeah, we've been going for 56 minutes.
Yeah.
I talked a lot. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, that's what we're here for, man. And it may not be 56 minutes at the very end. I usually trim the fat when it comes to audio editing and stuff. But that's neither here nor there. But
right.
But yeah, thank you everybody for joining us for another episode of Baconspiracies. Any closing remarks?
It was a pleasure.
But yeah, before we end here, I mean, we had an Eldritch theme. We might as well ask, with your very limited surface knowledge, and Brent, who's your favorite Eldritch god?
I gotta give a generic answer and say Cthulhu, because that's the only one I really know of.
He's the OG.
I gotta say, probably Azathoth, the Lord of all things. The big old fucking indescribable tentacle mouth and the
You
cosmos.
stole my answer.
Oh.
It's a good answer. I don't know what you want from me.
He's so cool. He's the gate and the key, and he just sleeps because of somebody playing a flute.
He hungers. He travels. He seeks the Parmesan.
He's a hungry boy. He seeks beans.
He seeks beans, planet-sized beans.
He's simple. I like Azathoth. He's awesome. He's probably one of the coolest ideas to come out of the Cthulhu mythos.
Oh yeah,
he's a good guy.
Well, not necessarily a good guy, but a guy nonetheless.
He is a guy.
Yeah.
He's a silly little man.
And he's like, "Hey, Bill, I hold back a tide of terrors. I wouldn't recommend seeing it, but if you want to see it, I'll show you, I guess." And then you're like, "Yeah, I want to see that." And he's like, "Okay, here you go. I told you so." All right, there you go. Bye. That's it. That's all he is. He's great.
Jesus Christ.
That's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for joining. It was a pleasure to have you both on.
Not a problem.
Everybody else, our listeners, thank you for joining us in the ritual of putting our proverbial snouts to the ground to sift for forbidden mushrooms along the path less traveled. And as always, be the cryptid that you wish to see in the woods. Have a good night, everybody.
Hey, stay spooky.
See ya.